Thank you so much for joining us for our We Love Local event with Harlem Week. This is our 4th year partnering with the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce ever since our Whole Foods Market Harlem store opened on 125th Street. This year, we are excited to highlight our local supplier program. Tonight, I'm here in our new Manhattan West store in the Hudson Yards neighborhood with 3 of our favorite local suppliers. Vi Higginson is the founder of Mama's One Sauce, which is sauce with soul. Not only can her products be used on almost anything, but a portion of the proceeds go back to her nonprofit, Mama Foundation for the Arts. Andre Springer is the founder of Shaquanda Will Feed You, a brand of hot sauce made by his alter ego, Shaquanda. Janie Deegan is the founder of Janie Bakes and created out of her need for self-love. Our moderator, Nicoa Evans Hendricks, is the executive director of the nonprofit Harlem Park to Park. This program helps develop and grow small brands into successful businesses. All the suppliers featured here tonight have actually come from the Harlem Park program, and they started in Harlem and now have expanded into multiple stores in our Northeast region, including Manhattan West, where we are tonight. Nicoa, I'll let you take it away.
Hi, my name is Nicoa Evans Hendricks, and I'm the executive director of Harlem Park to Park. And I am excited to be here today to talk about the wonderful partnership that we have had with Whole Foods Market. Many people may not know, but our partnership actually began in 2012 when Harlem Park to Park and Whole Foods partnered to start the relationship to grow brands in Harlem. We wanted to help develop those brands so that when the store opened a few years later, those brands would be able to participate in that. We formed the Harlem Local Vendor Program in 2015, and we are so excited because we've had over 200 vendors graduate from that program, 3 of whom I'm here with today, and so many success stories. There's more than we can count. Brands that have grown with Whole Foods or in stores throughout the Northeast region and have grown beyond. So I'm thrilled to be here today to share a little bit about the success we've had with the Harlem Local Vendor Program. Being an entrepreneur is one of the hardest career paths there is and requires a level of passion and commitment most don't understand. What led you toward the journey to becoming an entrepreneur and launching your own brand? And at what moment did you realize you'd made the right decision? Bye. We'll start with you.
Thank you for that question. And what led me to become an entrepreneur started early, when I was 11 years old, because my father died, my mother had 4 children, and I was last of the 4. And I wanted to help out. And I found that I could work at 11 years old and help contribute to the family. And what led me to the brand is in tribute to my mother, who worked so hard, and I wanted to make sure that I gave her a product that reflected my childhood. So that led me to become an entrepreneur. And the magic of being an entrepreneur is to present a product, a service, or an idea that people like, and they buy it, and they pay for it, and then the joy of that feeling and that profit.
Andre.
So I didn't necessarily, I kind of stumbled into what I've been doing. I've always been like a creative person, and having the sort of like ability and ideas to see like the bigger picture. And I always think of myself as an artist first. And, you know, like doing this project, which started off as an art project, I had the encouragement from friends and family to pursue this, and it was a great idea, and people were reacting to it really positively. And so I took the advice of my friends and family and decided to take it to the next step. And, you know, about a year later, I was realizing like all this legal work I was doing, like with the brand and making sure everything was protected and having insurance and, you know, filing all the correct paperwork. I realized like, oh my goodness, I'm actually doing this. And so it was like a realization of like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur.
You're doing, yeah, you are an entrepreneur. That's great. Janie?
Yeah, so like Andre, I think that this business chose me and this path chose me. I loved cooking when I was young. I was always artistic. And then in my early 20s, you know my story quite well, but I found myself homeless and penniless due to addiction. and I was getting my life back together, and I found that baking acted as this sort of like meditative, creative act of self-care where I could like express myself and have control in a world, my world was so out of control at the time. And so it was really just like a controlled creative act. And then like Andre, like it just like people encouraged me to start selling my baked goods. And in 2015, the business was born, and it's been crazy. I can't think of one moment where I decided this was like the right path, but I think it was just like a series of moments where like for the past 5 years, I've basically been my own boss. For all of my 30s, I've, woken up like doing what I love to do and just showing up for myself. So it's just been like an honor to be on this path.
There are numerous trials by error and lessons learned throughout the process of developing a new product and growing a brand. Hindsight is 2020. What key learnings have you gained during your process that you wish you had known before and would like to share with other entrepreneurs to help them avoid making the same mistakes?
What I learned in this process is patience, that it doesn't happen right away. There's the step by step procedure, and you have to be patient for the final result. It's important to pick the right partners, the right co-packers, and the right distributors. And once you find that magic piece and it comes together, that's where the beauty is. So I would say to new entrepreneurs and new people that there is a process and you have to be patient with it.
Absolutely, absolutely. How about you?
Yeah,
Andre?
you're absolutely right. Like it's like such an important thing in like doing this is like those relationships that we sort of foster. And when you rush into something, you tend to overlook the important details of what those relationships could be, what they can't be, if it's possible, if it's not possible, and you end up giving yourself so much stress.
Right.
And I think for me, like one of those things was like, I want to create so many different things and make a lot of things, and I want to eat everything, and I want to put everything in a bottle. But that's not always the case. And I think for me, the biggest learning experience was doing a safety course on food acidification. And so once I did that, there were so many things from before that I realized I wasn't doing correctly or that I could have avoided. And then the scaling process to really think about, where you want to see yourself in 5 years and like how you're going to grow. And I think growth is really important when it comes to thinking about your brand and like how to plan for it correctly. And I think in hindsight, like I felt good that I was planning early, but at the same time, there were things like this acidification course that I should have taken in the beginning of my story where, I've developed about hundreds of recipes that, I can't bottle because it's not shelf stable.
Right, exactly. That's a good one. How about you, Janie?
Yeah, I mean, to echo what they said, but also I think it's like, I want to plug the Harlem community because for the first 2 years of doing this business, I did it out of my apartment. I did it alone. I thought that my fellow entrepreneurs were like my competition. And that I had no business like networking with them. And then I sort of like found Harlem Local Vendors Program, Harlem Park to Park, Hot Bread Kitchen, all based in Harlem, which I live right near. And I like my world opened up. Like it went from being lonely and just like not knowing anything to being like, these are my best teachers, like a business consultant will not teach me as well as they will. And so it's really like, I would say to any entrepreneur who's starting out that really finds a community to like immerse yourself with. And then the second part is malleability. Like I started the business making custom bespoke cakes, and now I have a product in Whole Foods, and I was only able to move from one to another because someone suggested that you could take this product and put it in grocery stores, and learning what scalability is. And so like, maybe my business in 5 years will be completely different, but I'm along for the journey and I'm willing to be malleable. So
those are great answers.
Hot Bread Kitchen and Harlem Park to Park, like things like that we don't think about. And then it's like finding the right incubator space because there's that thing with entrepreneurship where, like you said, where you want to be alone and you want to like go through your process. But for me, the thing that I wish that I would have done sooner was like partnering or like starting with Hot Bread Kitchen. I went through all these different incubator spaces that wasn't the right fit for me. And then like luckily like you guys brought me up to Harlem, and then I did the program, and then I met you guys, and then now I'm
Yeah.
like doing so much better. So like, you know, community is such a big thing.
It is, it is. Consumer values have changed, and with that, consumer expectations for the brands they purchase have also changed. Brands that have incorporated social responsibility into their business strategy are resonating with consumers more and more. As a result, many companies now pursue a double bottom line, financial and social impact. Has your brand embraced this trend, and if so, how?
Yes, our brand, Mama's One Source, has embraced this social impact, but our organization has always been a part of the community in a way of music and telling the stories and reflecting back and serving young people. So when Mama's One Source was developed and placed into the Whole Foods, a portion of our proceeds go back to the Mama Foundation to make sure that we keep our programs free for our youth from 11 to 19 years old. So we think it's important to have a brand, but also to give back to the community that the brand was born from.
Absolutely, absolutely. What about you, Andre?
I've been looking more at the ingredients that I use, and I'm very careful about where I get them from. And as I grow, you know, I come across, you know, stumbles when it comes to accessibility of some ingredients. And so as I'm growing, I'm learning to be more picky about what I'm using, and also supporting farms that, like Diaspora Co. is a turmeric company that I use that provides equity for the farmers. And it's like heirloom, it's like a really beautiful fragrant turmeric, and down to my bottles, like where I'm thinking more about like sort of eco-sustainability and using a glass bottle and a metal cap. And I switched over to using paper labels instead of vinyl labels. So as I grow, like for me, like it's like pushing myself to be better about the environment, and also pushing myself to like give opportunities to suppliers that normally wouldn't have an opportunity.
Excellent, excellent. Jamie?
Yeah, so for me, it's about like authenticity. And, you know, I have a story that I thought had no place in business, and I thought it was really ugly. And then somewhere along the road, somebody told me it was a beautiful story, and that it was compelling, and that if I offered this story to other people, it could provide hope. And so I've, you know, for the past 2 or 3 years, really embraced that story, and it's been amazing to be able to show up and be 100% my authentic self, which I'd never been able to be before, and also do it in like the business world is such a crazy concept to me. And so by being more open and honest with my customers and the people who purchase my story is on the box, you know, that ugly story is now a beautiful story on a beautiful box. And people, I get notes from all around the country saying that, you know, you're inspiring me, and I mean, amazing. And then also, you know, I want to be a second chance employer. I had years and years of gaps on my resume. I really had no resume, let's be honest. I had no resume. And so I want to be able to, you know, pay that forward and provide like women who are struggling with homelessness or right out of prison or just need work experience. I want to be able to provide them with that opportunity so that they can hopefully find hope too.
Yeah, that's great. Great. So as you can see, the reason for the success of the Harlem Local Vendor Program and our partnership with Whole Foods is because we have such great people coming out of Harlem that are sharing their stories and have brands that really represent their true authentic selves. So we are so excited. We look forward to continuing to grow Harlem and grow Harlem brands with Whole Foods Market.
Thank you, Nicoa.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mama Talk to Park. Go girl, hard work. Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
For
This is
all our
great.
success in
Right.
part because of you, Nicoa.
Right?
Without you.
Collaboration before competition. That's our motto.
Hey, what's up? It's Andre, also known as Shaquanda, and I'm here to talk a little bit about my brand and show you some delicious treats that I like to make with it. But first, let's start with my story. I started making sauces and pickles when I was a young little kid with my grandma in Far Rockaway. Grew up in Brooklyn. My family immigrated here from the Caribbean, from Barbados specifically. And with that, they brought over their love for hot pickled things, hot peppers, chutneys, and everything sort of spicy. And so part of my like food story has always been about having that little extra kick and that spice and that heat. So about in 2014, my friend who does this amazing kind of drag show called Bushwick, which happens once a year in, which used to be in Bushwick, but now it's in Maspeth, Queens. He asked me to perform, and I said I would only do it if I was allowed to do something a little different. And so I started with my first kind of blend of hot sauce as part of my performance, where when people would ask me if I would perform, I'd said, open your mouth and here's a chip. And I would give them a dab of hot sauce, and then we would go over the story with them, with their sort of like the way the flavors would unfold. And so part of the thing that I really love about Barbadian hot sauce or Barbadian cuisine is that we use tons of onions, whether that's yellow onions, white onions, chives, spring onions, garlic, all the sort of allium family. And we use that as the base to kind of tell a story and tie all the other ingredients together. So my sauces aren't necessarily super hot, but they're super flavorful, very balanced, not too acidic, but there is acid there. And you know, we started with my first sauce, which is the original, which is a twist on the Barbadian kind of staple. So you got your mustard, your turmeric, your onions, and then I sort of nuanced it with apple cider vinegar. I use fresh ginger juice. And so you have a really nice tangy bouquet of flavors. And then the second, we have our spicier smoke, which is, you know, as you can tell, it's me 3 days after doing drag, and I don't want to do drag anymore. I just want to wear some lipstick, you know, have a little beard, you know, still like pumping a look, but, you know, I'm not shaving. And then my third look is excellent for any sort of fish, kind of if you're feeling like a mermaid, you want to have some fish, you want to do whitefish, you want to do some oysters. This is a perfect, mild starter for anyone who's like really looking for a way to kind of join in on the heat party boat, but not like start off too fast or too hard. And so I use bananas in this special one to kind of give it a little touch of sweetness. There's mustard, serrano peppers, jalapenos, and of course onions will always be the first ingredient in all of my sauces. So this one's like super bright and citrusy with tons of lemon juice and lime juice. And then next, for all of our vegan lovers, we got the umami. And so I just want to talk about like how thankful I am for like Korean food for bringing us these delicious fermented things like fermented black garlic, which is one of the ingredients in this hot sauce. And so if you're ever looking to make something for your vegetarian or vegan friends, this is the perfect way to go. It adds a sort of meatiness and sort of balance with balsamic vinegar. Caramelized onions is the first ingredient because, of course, I use onions as the first ingredient in all of my sauces. Blueberries, blackberries, and then we got some red wine vinegar, and then a touch of molasses to kind of balance it out. So today I'm going to show you what I like to do in the summer. It's a perfect treat for everyone because, you know, who doesn't love a peach? Unless you're allergic to stone fruit, and then I'm sorry. But peaches are an amazing thing, but when you come home and you got yourself like a really hard peach and you don't know what to do with it, the best thing to do is to cook it. Stone fruits have an amazing way of telling their story of flavor through cooking. And so I used some firm peaches that I grilled on my cast iron skillet. And then we're going to use some goat cheese. And if you're vegan, Whole Foods has an amazing brand, our whole selection of plant-based cheeses that you can use. I prefer to use the cashew or nut-based cheeses to make this delicious dish with. But we're going to start off with a little bit of the original. So you can do about 1 to 1. As my homegirl Tabitha Brown says on Instagram, it's my business. You know, if I want to use a little bit more, I can. So just going to use some of the original, some of the green. Now remember, I'm just like putting these all on the side because I'm going to mix it together and then have like a kind of tasting of peaches, if you will. Smoky, tons of smoked paprika. We got roasted red bell peppers in there. So for those of you who love barbecue and who love like chili, it's always like a great kind of like way to kind of incorporate those flavors for those friends that really love that smoky profile. So doing drag was something that I did in my early 20s to about in my 30s, and I didn't realize that, you know, I would be making sauces and food for, you know, for the masses. And I think it's really important to talk about sort of equity in the kitchen or equity on the shelves. And part of this ongoing investigation or entrepreneurship that I've been doing is fulfilling that space or that gap of having someone like myself who is queer identified in the LGBTQIA community to have like a space on the shelf. And so, you know, listen, I'm all about equality, but it's all about equity and giving that sort of space where you can see a very visibly queer brand on the shelf signifies to that little kid or that person that you too can be an entrepreneur, you too can make really amazing things and be accepted within all the different communities, whether it's food or just being a consumer. So whenever someone's coming over to dinner, you're having a dinner party, and people are like, what's that amazing tasting thing? The star of your meal or the star of your dish is gonna be the sauces that you use. So whether you use it as a finishing product like a condiment, or you use it to fold into something yummy like goat cheese, it tells like that wonderful story. And I think that people will leave your homes feeling very satiated and very happy. And what better way to enjoy a dish than with a little kick of heat, right? So I just want to say, you don't have to be royal to be the queen of your kitchen. Dress your food with spice and flavor, honey.
So hi, I'm Vi Higginson from Mama's One Sauce. Mama's One Sauce for all foods at Whole Foods. And so Mama's One Sauce was created because when I was a little girl growing up in Harlem, our family's been on the same street for almost 100 years. After my father died, my mother took in roomers in our brownstone. And the roomers came from the South, and they came from the Caribbean, and they came from East India. Now, in a brownstone, there's only one kitchen. My mother had to feed 4 kids. So those people who were rooming, they had favorite recipes from the South and from the Caribbean and from East India. And they would come down and prepare their recipes in the one kitchen. They'd make enough food for the whole family. And after we ate, then we would sing. So my memories in Harlem are about food and about music. And the main thing I remember is coming home from school, and I would smell these amazing aromas and these senses and spices, and then we'd get a chance to sit down and eat. So I wanted to recreate a little bit of my memory of the Harlem brownstone, of my mom, and those roomers in our house. So we created Mama's One Sauce, and we made it mild, spicy, and fire. And we call it One Sauce because it actually goes on everything. We use it for everything. So for me, I work hard all the time. So if I'm not baking my own food, then I go to Whole Foods and I buy a roasted chicken. When I cook it myself, I use it as a marinade. So I marinate it, and then after it's baked, I may slather it a little bit with more. And if I pull off a chicken wing or a leg, I might even dip it and get a little bit more of that Mama's One Sauce. Now, also, I use it to spice up my salad, because once you start eating good, you want it to taste good too. So I would make sure that I have a little bit of drizzle on my salad, so to spice it up and give it a little kick. Now, I love salmon. I eat lots of seafood. So I like to poach it, and I like to grill it. But when I do, I also make sure that I add Mama's One Sauce to it and make a kick. Now, I happen to like mild, spicy, and fire. So when I'm using a salad, I might use the mild or sometimes the spicy. But now when I'm having an event or people coming over for music and I have crudité, I make sure I have mild, spicy, and fire available. So it depends on the amount of heat that you like. Mild, it never loses its flavor. Spicy has 1 kick, and fire, it has 2 kicks, but it still never uses its flavor. And so Mama's One Sauce also comes out of Mama, I Want to Sing, which became the longest running Black off-Broadway theater musical in the history of American theater. And it's about that same block in Harlem on 126th Street that the Mama's One Sauce is all about. And so we created a not-for-profit, which is called the Mama Foundation for the Arts, and the School of the Gospel, Jazz, and R&B Arts. So it's important that we make sure we preserve the history and culture of African American music through our young people between the ages of 11 and 19 years old. So a portion of the proceeds from Mama's One Sauce goes back to our not-for-profit, the Mama Foundation for the Arts. So it's a product with a purpose. Now, we also love to dip. So this is also available at Whole Foods, and it's delicious, nice and crunchy. So you can dip, you can stir fry, you can bake, you can fry, you can barbecue, you can crudité, you can salmon and salad. You can use it on everything. I even stick it in my soup. Oh yeah, I make some good soup too. And I put my one sauce in the soup. Mild, spicy, and fire! Mama's one sauce for all foods at Whole Foods. We started out in the Harlem branch thanks to Harlem Park to Park. And now we're in 31 stores, and so we're all so excited. And we want to be in all the Whole Foods stores. Thank you so much. I hope you love every bit of Mama's one sauce for all foods at Whole Foods.
Hi, I'm Janie Deacon. I'm the founder and owner of Janie's Life Changing Baked Goods, and these are my cookies. They're called pie crust cookies. They're what I specialize in. I started my business at the end of 2015, and as a kid, I really loved baking. It was like a meditative act of self-care. It was a creative outlet, and I ended up becoming homeless and penniless in my early 20s due to addiction. And I had the courage and perseverance to climb out of that, but I found I was a shell of a person with no sort of self-esteem or self-love. But I started baking again, and baking enabled me to start looking people in the eyes again. And it morphed into a business, and along the way, I developed these cookies, which are now sold in 26 Whole Foods. I can actually see the product from where I'm standing, which is pretty cool. It feels like good luck and good vibes to be able to see my cookies on the shelf. So this is called a pie crust cookie, and it's really unique because it has pie crust, filling, and then streusel on top. So it's customers comment all the time on how there's 3 unique textures in each bite: that flaky pie crust, the sort of caramelized chewiness of the filling, and then the crumbly buttery streusel on top. And I make it in many different flavors. I like to eat them plain, straight out of the oven, but obviously you guys can't eat them straight out of the oven when you purchase them. So what I recommend, and it even says on my packaging, for a life-changing experience, re-crisp the cookies in a preheated oven for 3 to 5 minutes. And they're delicious right out of the box as is without preheating. But if you want that extra life-changing experience, you can pop them in the oven for 3 to 5 minutes. Also, I'm told over and over again, I've never eaten them this way, but my customers constantly email me and tell me that they're so good with a scoop of ice cream. Malai is one of my favorite ice cream brands. They're actually based in Brooklyn. The owner is an amazing woman, and it's a local ice cream that's also sold in Whole Foods. So I recommend, or what my customers say, ooh, this is messy, is to just like do a scoop, like it's like pie a la mode, to do a nice scoop of ice cream with a cookie right on top. So when I started this business almost 5 years ago, I was really a custom cake bakery, doing wedding cakes, event cakes for moms in the neighborhood. And along the way, I developed these cookies, and I never intended to open a bakery. Second of all, I never intended to be a product-based business. And so it's been really cool. I've spent 2 years from the conception of this cookie and then meeting Whole Foods and working with Whole Foods. I've spent 2 years developing this product. And now I've realized that I don't have to just be one small bakery. I can be all over the country and be in every home. And so it's the next couple of years for Janie's and for me and for my company and for my employees is really about getting this cookie, getting this brand in homes all around the country, expanding. Right now I'm just in one region, in the Northeast region with Whole Foods, but really expanding nationwide and getting more brand awareness. And also as I mentioned, I come from an adverse background. So as I continue to hire people, I want to be a second chance employer and really give employment chances to people who need that job, who need that second chance, who have gaps on their resume. And so I'm developing more flavors. I have many flavors. I'm developing more flavors. And so you can expect to see me in more Whole Foods, more grocery stores with not just the pecan pie crust cookie, but lots of flavors of pie crust cookies.